Hey, what's going on, Trojan family? Welcome to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sports. This is your daily dose of USC Trojans news. Just over 24 hours away from kickoff tomorrow, 8 p.m. at the Coliseum, Michigan State. It's going to be a fun one. I'm hoping the place is packed. I love this conscious effort of the program and the players and the admins of really getting the word out there, some different special changes for the game day experience. If you're there between 6:30 and 7:30, you can get a hot dog and a drink for $10. Unheard of in a sports game here in LA, and not a beer, unfortunately. But hey, still a hot dog and a soda for $10, not too bad for a night out. So hope everyone gets there. It's gonna be a blast. It's gonna be a ton of fun under the lights at the College. Should be a great game. On here today to talk about this massive recruiting list that will be at the game and what it means for USC. Just more fodder or ammunition showing where the state of this program is in terms of recruiting. So wanted to get on here, jump on, talk about that quickly, talk about our friends over at Sleeper, the number one sports app right now available. Just go to the Google Play or the Apple App Store, type in Sleeper, easy to spell, download it. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB, all one word, USCLAFB. They're going to match your deposit up to $100. If you only want to start with $10, put in 10, they'll match you $10. You have an extra 10 to play with, 20 to play with. If you're wondering why you want to make a deposit and play, obviously, Sleeper, if you don't know, is really popular for season-long fantasy leagues. You do get score updates. There's a game day chat. But their new Pick'em, right in the app, in the middle of the app, go to Picks, and you get to pick more or less on certain statistics for your favorite players across any sport, college football, NFL, basketball, baseball, all of it. Pick 2 to 8 players, and you can win real money. So I'll just tell you here, Jade Mayava for tomorrow, more or less 277.5 yards, passing, of course. Makai Lemon, more or less 83.5 yards. Jacoby Lane, if he plays, more or less 60.5 yards. Wayman Jordan, anytime touchdown. So you add these up, you kind of pick more or less, you stack them, win real money. Let's just to see what we can get here. Let's go. I like Jade Mayava more. I like Wayman Jordan, anytime touchdown. Let's go more. Tanick Hines, anytime touchdown, gets you a nice almost 3 times multiplier with, which I'll talk about. Jacoby Lane, a little questionable. I like Tanick Hines to get in there. And let's see anyone else. Those are a little Walker Lyons, anytime touchdown. Let's go with that. Why not? Okay, so we got 4 players selected. If I wanted to put $5 on, I could win $116 on that. Could have some fun. So anyway, Sleeper, download the app, use our promo code USCLAFB. Tell them that LAFB Network sent you. All right, quickly. Lately I don't spend a lot of time. I just get straight to the videos per much of your requests, which is great, but I just want to quickly give a shout out. Got the Dodger hat on. 2 shout outs. Clayton Kershaw. As I'm recording this, it is 5:45. Wanted to get this done before his final regular season game at Dodger Stadium, announcing his retirement. One of the greatest, not just Dodgers pitchers, but pitchers in Major League Baseball history. Automatic Hall of Famer, just an absolute legend. And on the same day, Anze Kopitar, one of the most underrated NHL players and probably the greatest Kings player in franchise history, announced that this will be his last season. So 2 GOATs on their respective sport and teams, LA legends, both retiring, both played their entire careers with their LA teams. So just absolute LA legends. Like, this is a different podcast that we could spend a lot of time on and have some fun, but obviously a lot of USC fans are other LA sports fans. Not everyone. I know not everyone, so don't get angry with me. But in the modern era, if you look like I was born in 1990, so you look at 90 and beyond, if you're making your LA sports Mount Rushmore, so again, 90 and beyond, so we're not talking Magic, we're not talking Kareem, we're not talking some of the great Dodgers back in the day, 90 and above, I think, I don't even know if it's an argument. You have Kobe, you have Clayton Kershaw, and you probably have Anze Kopitar on that. And I know hockey is not as big of a sport nearly as the others, but this is a good hockey town. The Kings have a really good following. Kings games are so much fun. They have a great history. So I'd put Anze Kopitar, and then the fourth spot, I'd love to hear who you would put in that fourth Mount Rushmore spot. Can still be, it could be Shaq, could be another Laker, could be a Dodger during that era. I think like one of the obvious ones would be Aaron Donald. But me personally, this is how we'll bring it back to USC. I think I'd put either Reggie Bush or Matt Leinart in there. Obviously, it's hard USC players because that's a shorter time period. You're talking about Kopitar, 20 seasons. Kershaw, 17 seasons? Kobe, his entire 16, 17 season career. USC, you have 2 to 4 years. But the impact that Reggie or Leinart had on this city, not just on USC football, winning, 2 natties, natty right before they got there too. Going to 2 natties. But the impact they had on the city, I mean, USC football during that era was the biggest ticket in town. Bigger than the Lakers, bigger than the Dodgers. And part of that was obviously because the program was winning and going to natties, but also just the culture around USC football and Pete Carroll and Matt Leinart and Reggie and who they were dating and what they were doing at on the weekends aside from football night. Like it was huge. This massive part of LA culture. So I'd probably put either Reggie Bush or Matt Leinart as the fourth modern day Mount Rushmore. What do you guys think? This is a USC pod, so I'm sure we'll get some agreement there. But I think there's an argument for Aaron Donald for sure, even though he was drafted as a St. Louis Ram. The Rams have been here since 2016, so we're almost at 10. He played 8 years here or so and brought the Rams a Super Bowl. So, fun debate. But let's get into this recruiting list. So 40 players are going to be attending this Michigan State game tomorrow night. So the fact that this is an 8 o'clock game, the program did not shy away at all from really showcasing it to their current 2026 committed class, a few uncommitted 2026 prospects, and then a massive list of 2027 as they start to ramp up their 27 list. So I'm not going to read it, the whole name. I have an article up listing everyone. I'll post it in the description, so you can check that out at LAFBnetwork.com if you want to see all of them. But I'll just, I'll highlight a few here. Of the 26 class, Mark Bowman, Elbert Hill, Samote Katawanga, Tom's going to be here again. Again, I've said the guy just lives on campus basically. He's about actually to kick off a massive game against Bishop Gorman tonight as Mater Dei takes in on Trent Mosley, Luke Weaver, Easton Taffa, Cannon Smith, Chase Denise, Tron Baker, Andrew Williams. Those were the projected attendees as of a couple days ago. And then just today, a few more added. Jamian Winfield coming in from Texas. We've seen his stock rise in the Rivals recruiting. I mean, he's had a great season so far in his final high school season. Brandon Lockhart, another great, faithful USC commit. He'll be here. His teammate, Madden Riordan, and then Malik Brooks and Taylor Johnson. So a huge amount of 2026 commits coming, which is great, obviously, because you want these guys to remain fired up about the program. You want them to remain locked in. You want them to continue building the rapport with each other as a class, a pride in the program, in their specific 2026 class. So great to see how many current commits are coming every single week and continue to do so probably throughout the season. Now, when you look at uncommitted 2026 prospects, you got 2 coming, Antoine Baker and Sifa Saki. Both are being recruited as athletes. So, that gives you a lot of flexibility of where they can play, whether it's on the back end as a safety DB or on the edge, or sometimes those edge becomes tight ends. So Saki specifically potentially recruited as an edge or a tight end. So we'll see what that looks like. And obviously they're 2 of these prospects, as the Trojans have 3 remaining spots for this 26 class. Now, when you look at 27 prospects, I'm probably going to end up just reading all these, but if you want to look more in depth, I'll have that link in the description. But Linebackers, Taven Epps, Toa Satelli. You got DB Khalil Terry out of Tustin. That's a big 4-star. Ace Alston, DB, out of Ohio. You got who else do we want to list here as some great? KJ Green, defensive end, 4-star out of Georgia. So get some guys. A lot of obviously California potential, but some guys from other states across here. Grant Mosley, Trent Mosley's brother at Santa Margarita, as a 2028 prospect, is going to be visiting. And then again, more additions just added. Elijah Harmon, who's getting a lot of talk and run, 4-star defensive tackle out of Inglewood. Danny Lang may end up at the end of this cycle being one of the best defensive back recruits in the entire 2027 class. Obviously goes to modern day, can play really corner or safety. We'll see where they kind of recruit him as. His teammate, Aaron Washington, another 4-star DB out of modern day. Dante Wright, DB out of Long Beach Poly. He is currently a Georgia commit. So see if USC can start to work and massage that and potentially flip him from an SEC rival in Georgia. Miles Smith, another Inglewood defensive tackle. This Inglewood team is going to be pretty solid with Harmon and Smith, both defensive tackles on that squad. Jeremiah Williams at a Tustin. I've talked about it before. Tustin's putting together a nice program as well with a bunch of 4-stars. And so Jalen Flowers is a 3-star DB out of Palos Verdes in the 2028 class. So massive list. Like I said, 40 players. A lot of talent. A lot of current commits. A lot of uncommitted 2027 prospects. So I want to talk about this more as an overarching kind of why this is like this right now and what this specifically means moving forward. So, when you get all these recruits together, you start building relationships. And we've heard from all the coaches, from Chad Bowden and his staff, like this is a relationship business. NIL plays a role. Absolutely, that's important. That was a huge factor in why USC is recruiting the way they are now versus where they were last year or the year before. They've enhanced their NIL program. But at the end of the day, the still most important thing is these relationships. And obviously development in football and, the path you can get to the NFL. Like, there's a lot of factors. But relationships are one of the major ones. And so not only are you getting all these kids continually on campus, seeing your program, seeing the Coliseum, seeing the game day atmosphere, but you're getting these kids to build relationships. And so I've talked about it before with the 26 class, how this class just feels so tightly bound already. And there's 32 of them. A lot of classes you're looking more at like 17 to 24, and the Trojans have 32, and yet they all seem real close-knit, tightly bound because of all their visits, because, new age with social media and the conversation. But that's important. Now you bring in this next crop of 2027 and a few 2028s, and they get to meet the 2026 class, and they can be like, oh, wow, this 26 class thinks they're pretty special. Like, they're talking like they're going to be the ones that really bring USC back to national relevance. Well, then this 27 group starts chatting and saying like, okay, well, we want to carry on that legacy. We like what we're seeing here. We like this game day atmosphere. We like what they're building with their class, what this current team is actually doing, and we can now be the next one after that to continue that legacy, continue growth, continue the build back to what this program should be. So you enhance that by continually laying these foundations and laying down these visits that allow these relationships to be built. And a lot of these kids are Cali kids, so a lot of them probably know each other anyway. But then by sprinkling in some of these Georgia kids, these Ohio kids, Florida kids, Texas kids, well, now they get to become a part of it, and they stay in touch. Oh, where are you visiting next? Are you going here next? Oh, you're going to be back at USC? Yeah, I'll make my way back out to Cali. I'll be back at USC. So it's a really strong tactic, but it's also an important one for continuing building this class out. And why this is so different now, this isn't a knock on the past staffs. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but this is very clearly like why Chad Bowden is so good at what he does and why this hire was so massive. Because we didn't have this last year. Obviously, there was a lot of visits last year. It wasn't like there wasn't any visits during the season last year. But this is an impressive list for an 8 p.m. game against Michigan State. This isn't like you're playing Notre Dame at 4:30. This is an early season, late kickoff. Not a bad opponent, Big Ten opponent. Michigan State has a lot of history, but it's not the draw of like, oh, you got Penn State coming to town, ranked 5th in the nation when they played, I think, or 4th maybe. Oh, you got Notre Dame coming to town. Like, you get what I'm getting at here. But this is where Chad Bowden and his staff have changed kind of the identity of recruiting, the importance of this relationship building, but B, also just having a staff to do that. And, ultimately Lincoln Riley is the head coach, but the previous 2 years, like, yeah, you're recruiting, you're talking, but like he's not having time. Like, he's got a game to prepare for. He's not trying to coordinate 40 players to come visit. And obviously they had a staff last year that did that. So not saying there was like nobody, but there wasn't this true structure that there is now, that this is like the sole heartbeat of what recruiting is. And you have this like pretty large numbers-wise staff, but also extremely talented staff doing it. And I think that is why we're seeing, why we've seen for months now the recruiting take a huge step forward, but that continue on now into the season with these visits. So, Chad Bowden's got his fingerprints all over this, as he should. This is why he was hired to do this. But it's very telling what we've seen just early on in this third home game with how many of these visits are happening and how many of them are like blue chip prospects, and getting some from across the country to come in. And these are kids too after like big time high school games and then flying in. So very impressive. Very impressive. So the full list I'll have in the link below. You can check that out. Let me know your guys' thoughts just kind of on recruiting. I know we're in season now, so there's a lot of excitement about the actual games and plays, as there should be. But just your continued thoughts on, what recruiting is looking like. Obviously, no 2027 commits yet. I do believe, based on what I've heard, that that's actually kind of on purpose. They've had some potential recruits that have wanted to commit, and they've kind of pumped the brakes, said hold off a little bit. I think there's a couple reasons for that. One, USC has to be more selective in this class. Like, if 26 is going to end up being 35, the 27 class, you're looking at like 17-ish, 15 to 19, like in that range is, how many spots they'll have. So they have to be more selective, for one. For two, we are still early in the process. This time last year, they had a couple commits, really early ones from 23. When you think of like Brandon Lockhart, Madden Riordan, there were some of those guys at that time. Julian Lewis was a 23 committed way early. But just from fall commits, you had, I believe, Joshua Holland committed in July, and you had, I think, one more in October. The kid from Illinois, that I'm drawing a blank on his name all of a sudden, defensive lineman from Illinois. I believe he committed in October. And I'm talking the 26 class. And, excuse me. So, yeah, Julian Lewis was the previous class, 25 class. So forget that. And then all the slew of them came in the spring after Bowden was hired, after you had built some relationships and this new kind of policies and stuff were intact. So I think for this, looking at the 27 class, they've laid the groundwork, the relationships are being built, but they have to be more selective, for one. And for two, because it's so early, a lot of these kids do want to take multiple visits, and they should. Like, you should only, some commit multiple times, but your recruiting only happens one time, right? You should enjoy it and see. So knowing USC's policy of like, once you commit, that's it. They're probably telling guys like, hey, if you want to take some visits, like, we understand, go do that now. And then let's lock this in. And then once you're committed, that's it. Like, we're riding for the next year and a half. So, it's a year and a half till 2027 signing day. Long time away. So the commitments will come. I don't know if anyone's worried. You shouldn't be. I would expect USC to probably get a couple 2027s throughout the fall, and then next spring just like they did with the 26th class, is that's when we'll just see like boom, 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 them start to all stack up. So anyway, cannot wait to be at the Call-In tomorrow night. Hope to see a bunch of you there. Let me know where you're sitting, where you're tailgating. Long day of tailgating. Should be a blast. Should be a beautiful evening in Los Angeles. Thank you, as always, for making this show a part of your day. Hit that like and subscribe button. Become a member, either here on YouTube or on LAFBnetwork.com, and help support LAFB. Plus 20% of your monthly membership is going to be donated to helping youth sports initiatives right here in Los Angeles. Thanks, Trojan family. As always, fight on.